Hello, I'm Joey Kennedy, but I'm making an announcement.
And we have Dr. Maria Tarasova back, and so she'll be speaking. You'll also hear from some of her students in Siberia on their projects related to visual thinking. And then there'll be an opportunity, there's some students from this class that will present at the end. So it's designed to be as interactive as possible. So we'll go from there. So that'll go till 10:30, 5-minute break. And then we'll come back 10:35 to 11:05. We'll have a feedback session from all the faculty on the midterm exam. And then Connie will be here 7:15 for her lecture on the Geneva Convention. So I'll hand it over to Maria.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So I'm so happy to be here with you again. And so today we are going to talk more together, I hope. And we are now at the second part of visual thinking classes. And in this general course, Game Changers, Big Ideas Throughout the History. So today we are going to focus on how to look and to understand what is around you, what you see, and what advantages of visual thinking can have in personal and professional growth. So I would like to remind you first 3 logical steps you should do, and you do actually, maybe even subconsciously, in the process of visual thinking. So first of all, you analyze, you single out the object and you abstract it from the context. Then you grasp the shape of it, and then you put it in context and get the new meaning of this combination, and this is synthesis. Visual thinking can allow you to do these 3 steps and other steps of understanding what you see by such operations as analogy, analysis, synthesis, seeing the structure, generalization, abstracting, and grasping the essentials. So there are art objects that can help you understand and realize the meaning of the world around you. And so art is that form of visual thinking which is really capable of modeling the world and human beings in the world and the world inside of a human being too. So here we have one example which I would like to begin with, an excellent example of how a work of art that you see around can teach you something. So there are special art objects created for university campuses around the world, and this is one of the first examples of this traditions, creating an art piece specifically for the university. In this case, we have a MIT campus. And in 1980s, Alexander Calder created the sculpture, this piece that you see in black color in the foreground. This is called Big Sail. And so in this relationship between the art piece and the campus, there a very interesting dialogue was created. And this piece was actually addressed to the society of MIT students. And now my question is to you, what do you think? What does this artwork teach the students who study at the institute? So please feel free to just speak up, or preferably now for now, I would like you to print your ideas, put them in chat, and we'll take a look on different ideas that you may have in answer to this question. While you are thinking, I'm giving you 1-2 minutes to think of your possible answer to this question. I would like to concentrate your attention on the specific structure that we have here. So we have an ascending composition. We have various elements, constructive elements, which are getting upwards, and they are also in connection with this building that we have in the background. So there is a common message. So you go around this MIT campus and you see this structure. What effect does it produce? What does it tell to those who see it? What do you think? Do we have some ideas in the chat? Please put them in the chat, your answers to this question. What does this big sail by Alexander Calder in Cambridge, Massachusetts teach its students? So while you are thinking, I will share my ideas that I have. So first of all, this sculpture is really near the river. So from where the picture was taken, in the back of the person who was taking the picture, there is the Charles River, which is in Boston. And so the idea of this sailing, big sail, is the name of the piece. And so the idea of sails going by the river towards the big world is something about the graduation, the results of graduation of this university, of this space where they try to prepare engineers, future inventors, changers of the world. And so this big sail is like this big future that may be expecting this new, young and aspired here, and in future those who can create something which can inspire new generations. So this big sail is actually about the inspiration of the students who are there. So let me take a look at what we have in chat. So yes, I see that some of you have shared my ideas. So this either students at MIT, Alex Yates writes, or the institution itself are like sails. And so it inspires. Elise Emmons writes that the piece inspires the students to continue to grow and learn and show that there is no limit moving upward. So Bethany Brecker writes that there is a sense of moving forward, both because of the name and the tilt of the sails. So setting sails, yeah, the name gets you, you start thinking. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because actually a work of art speaks in a visual language. And in our reflection, we start from the name of the piece. So it helps. It helps, but also it works together with the visual construction. So Liberty told us that she noticed that the piece is very large. It is indeed. And so it develops, so Liberty says that it develops the idea that students can develop something larger than the foundational aspects of it. I think that's also a great addition to our chat. So Jacob Fraser noticed that it's based on asymmetric elements, and asymmetric nature seems to encourage non-conformity. That's a great idea. And yet the presence of multiple sails, yeah, that's also good to note, that multiple sails, not just one, yeah, but you can like go in different directions upwards. Working multiple sails still work in the same direction, Jacob writes, and it encourages teamwork, even when working with your own ideas. So thank you very much. That was a great brainstorming in our chat. If any of you have other ideas, you can add them, and we'll see them, and maybe even make some comments on them. So that was a piece on campus, a work of art. If it is in the university, it has to teach you something. It's about guiding you in some way, inspiring, letting you know something new. If we have art pieces in the city, like for instance, now we'll take a look at Chicago. So for instance, Anish Kapoor has totally changed the view of the city when he installed in 2006 this cloud gate. And we have this reflection of the skyscrapers together with the ground and with the sky. And we have a new image of a city which goes upward also to the sky. And we have this combination. So when we take a look at the city as a reflection in this cloud gate, we have the whole picture together. And so this idea of a reflection also starts a reflection process within human heads. And you can see how in different day or night time, this reflection changes. And it's just another way to look at yourself and at your city. And it gives opportunity, time, and space for reflection. And that is a great work that an art object can do for a citizen, for the one who lives in the city. And take a look at another art object in Chicago as well. It was created by a famous Spanish artist, Pablo Picasso. He didn't give it a name. So when you come to Daily Plaza in Chicago, this is the art object. And it is surrounded, as you see, it stands on the square, but it is surrounded by skyscrapers, Chicago skyscrapers. So this is a business area. It has this amazing skyscrapers look, which can be oppressive for some viewers, which can be also inspiring for some. But anyway, this is a kind of a sculpture which was deliberately put on this place, surrounded by these high architectural constructions. So let's take a closer look at this. So what is it? Who is it? Who is the character? What is it here? And there are different versions how to answer this question, as Picasso didn't name it. But if we go around and take different angles in making pictures, taking pictures, and also thinking what it can mean, we see this sculpture resembles the Sphinx in Egypt. And in the Sphinx is a combination actually of different animals, like a lion, a dog, with a sometimes it is depicted with a human head. So here we have elements of a bird, of a dog, of a lion, and they create this imaginary character which has the same function as the sculpture of Sphinx in Egypt. It gives an absolute calm and control in this chaotic, actually, normally it is a chaotic business area in this part of the city. And so this Picasso sculpture in Daly Plaza in Chicago, surrounded by skyscrapers, is like a sphinx surrounded by pyramids in Egypt. And Egyptian construction are all about meditation and getting into just a world beyond earthly existence. And here in this daily routine life, this sculpture gives another dimension of the city life. It is calm when everything around is maybe moving, and so it gives this solid inner feeling to the one who comes into contact with this great form of the gaze. Like he combined two eyeballs in one eye, and this is also about concentration and the peacefulness inside of a character. So now I would like to remind you that you also were meant to find some art objects in the city where you live or on campus where you study. And so you had to imagine yourself being the ultimate visual thinker, the only one who is capable of understanding the messages, the visual messages sent by buildings, sculptures, installations, murals, pieces of street art, and so on. So you had to think about what art object to choose and what meaning does it have, the concept visualized by the piece, and in a result of this thinking and reflection, wonder if we could get an impression of the whole city, whole town from the piece of art which was installed there recently or some time ago. So today I would like to listen to some of you speaking about the ideas that have come to your mind, and we shall start by me introducing to you the students of Siberian Federal University of our Honors College, who also were thinking about it. What can we see in the city? What is the meaning of art in the city or in some smaller town? Doesn't matter. And so now I would like to introduce you to our city. This is Krasnoyarsk. So it is a city, it is a big city, 1 million people live there. It is an industrial big city in Siberia. And from this picture, you get an amazing view of the nature and the urban structure of our city altogether. And so we have this marvelous nature which surrounds our place of living. And the different pieces of architecture and sculpture and so on, they definitely reflect on that, and they have a very interesting dialogues between them, between different art pieces as well. For example, this is an interesting dialogue between the past and the present time. We have in architectural constructions in our city. In the left, you see one of the first buildings ever erected in our city, and our city is about 400 years old. So it was a chapel placed on a hill. And this is one of the contemporary structures. It is a clock tower on the seat of the mayor of the city building. So, and you see this, one of the structures resembles another. And so this construction was built like an echo of some forms, this pyramidal form of the first structure ever erected in the city. So now we have a story of the time and how the present time, the today of our city is always in contact with an image of its first days of its past. And so this idea of the visual concept behind it, the time of the city, how it is working, and the time of the city is past, present, and future together. And so architecture can reflect on that, and we can have this interesting dialogue which tell us more about what we see in different art objects, like architecture objects, for example, in the city. So right now, I would like the students of the Honors College tell more about other art objects which they have found in our city of Krasnoyarsk interesting, and would like to tell you now what meanings they see in them. So first of all, I would like to introduce Nastasia Zborovitskaya. She is a student of Siberian Federal University, and she also studies culture and art in our university. So Nastasia, if it is possible, can you please switch on your video camera so everybody can see her, and you can start your presentation. And to all of you who listens now to Nastasia and will listen, please, if you have any questions, you can put them in chat or ask her after she's through with her presentation. So Nastasia, you can begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anastasia. I'm a fourth-year student of culture studies. I have chosen 7 art objects of Krasnoyarsk that I believe characterize our city in the best way. These art objects of Krasnoyarsk tell about one big topic that can be the unity major of man. The unity of man and nature. And the first object of is a mosaic called Motherland. The mosaic panel is made of Yenisey river pebbles, a sign of initial connection with nature. The mosaic depicts a mother raising a child. And the first thing he sees, this is not the city, but the ancient rocks, stolby. In the Russian, this word can be translated as pillars. These are real rocks. Here we can see the famous rocks, Grandpa, the second stolp, the Savage. The mosaic tells that nature is a real homeland. Without nature, it's impossible to imagine yourself as a resident of this city. Nature itself educates a person and tempers one's character. Let's move to the city center. Here we see the building of Museum Center, Peace Square by Areg Demirkhanov. This building is located on a historical site, the construction site of Krasnoyarsk, founded on the spit of two rivers, the Kacha and the Yenisey. The building is directed towards the Cyan Hills, the Stolby and the Takmak Rock. The volumes of the building repeat the asymmetric process volumes of the Stolby. The building conducts a dialogue with the natural forms. We see that forms of this building are equally unclear like these rocks. That building tells that the appearance of the city invincibly set by natural forms, the mountains and the Yenisey River. Thus, the city does not break away from this essence and is in harmony with nature. We can see that in this picture. Now we're moving on SibFU campus, where stands this unusual sculpture called transformation. And the sculpture embodies the concepts of change, rebirth, change of form. The boulders that compose the sculpture resemble stolby. The transformation involves images of different peoples and cultures. They merge and create the image of human head. It is a symbol of the path the mankind has traveled and is still making, striving forward. Not far from Museum Center, another is located is another art object. It's called the Swing Mammoth Tusks. The massive tusks are located on the bank of the Kacha River and referred to the times when mammoths walked on this land, when ancient people used mammoth tusks for the construction of dwellings and other needs. The tusk seems to growing out of the ground, speaking about how much more knowledge this land holds. The space thus draws the viewer's attention to the original appearance of Krasnoyarsk. And we see how people using this. Let's move. Let's look at the sculpture, the keeper. The ceramic sculpture depicts deer idol with ancient petroglyphs dedicated to him. In ancient times, ancient people revered the deer as a symbol of guardian and protector. The sculpture is also located in the area on the spit of Kacha and Yenisey rivers, where various fossils were also found in due time. And the last one in my top list is Rotunda of Memory and Glory, located near from Museum Center. This unusual object, it's made of white wooden planks, which gives a lightness, indistinctness, and at the same time density, forming the concept of cloud. The rotunda is built according to the central symmetry, for some square inscribed in circle, the dominant of the heavenly infinite of the earth. The mirror in the central says the same. The viewer sees his or her reflection in the cloud, and sees the unity in the sky. Now tried to show that such objects of Krasnoyarsk represent building a dialogue with nature. The Yenisey and Kacha rivers, the rocks of Stolby and the mountains. This natural environment divides the appearance of the city, and the city answers to nature, reproducing into the form of a building, rotunda, mosaic, and sculpture. Only in this way the inhabitants of Krasnoyarsk can live harmoniously in the space and be in harmony with themselves.
Okay, thank you, Anastasia. Now, please, if you have questions, you can speak up or put them in the chat. Questions for Anastasia, questions to clear up, or just to know more about those art objects that she has chosen for her presentation. So does anyone have questions? I don't see any questions now in the chat. But if you have any, you can always add them, and so Nastasia will still be here for a while. And if you have any questions, you can ask her, and she will try to find an answer for you. So now I would like to introduce another student from Siberian Federal University, Anna Diomina. Anna, if it is possible, please switch on your video camera so we can see you. So now I see. In the meantime, I see a question for me, I guess, because Rusty Rushton asks about how old, in fact, was the chapel on the hill that was paired with the modern clock tower. So I guess I'm not very good in counting, but if Krasnoyarsk is about 400 years old, then it was founded in the 16th, 17th century. So that is the time when this building was constructed, and the modern clock tower was created in the 21st century. So, and the architect of this modern clock tower deliberately made the connection of forms. And actually, you can see very well the chapel on the hill from the place where the modern clock tower stands. So, okay, if you have any other questions, you can continue writing them in the chat. So now, Anna, it's your turn, and you can speak about a piece. Anna also have chosen the Rotunda, which Nastasia has already showed to you, but now you will see how the meaning of an art object can be multi-layered, and how you can see different aspects of one and the same piece. So I encourage you to ask questions, and Anna, if you allow me, I first show you, show the video which Anna made. So please take a look at the construction. Okay, so that was the video, and now Anna will tell more what she sees in this art object. Anna, you're welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I am a culture student of the Honors College of Siberian Federal University. Now I will tell you about one of my city's art objects. On this slide, you can see a photo of the selected art object. I took these photos myself the day it was raining and snowing, so the photos seem to be highlighted. I have chosen this landmark of Krasnoyarsk because it is a new art object in our city and it attracts a lot of attention. This art object was opened this summer. It is called the Rotunda of Memory and Glory. The building is located on the bank of the Yenisey River near the museum center called Peace Square. This rotunda brings together aesthetic, historical, and patriotic motifs. This architectural installation is part of the documentary and artistic exhibition program. We have been marking this day as near as we could. Dedicated to the 75th anniversary of the victory in the Second World War. These events are very important for us, and we remember with what efforts the victory was achieved. This art object is like a cloud over the Yenisey River, and it does not let us forget about the historic events. In the photographs, you can see the art object up close. Please, next slide. The rotunda is a 70-meter pavilion with several benches inside. The lights are turned on her at night. The art object was built as a symbol of the end of the war. At the base of the rotunda, we see bombs which are captured and fixed. In this photo, you can see images of mines. And in the center, there is an empty hole with a mirrored bottom. The sky is reflected in the mirror as a symbol of the peaceful sky overhead, gratitude for this victory. On the next slide, we also see the reference to the wartime pavilion benches, where a park orchestra used to play and the couples in love gathered for walks in the evening when possible. This is the largest and perhaps the most elegant installation near the Museum Peace Square. Is significant for our city. This art object conveys the spirit of sacred space dedicated to victory. This project is important for Krasnoyarsk. It is designed to preserve the depths of time, unify different generations. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, Anna, thank you very much. So does anyone have questions for Anna? You can put them in the chat board. Now I would like to tell my own impression. So you take one piece and then you can see something different in it. So Nastasia, for example, talked about how this structure reveals the meaning of a piece being like a door to this river, to the sky, the piece being like a cloud. And so Anna concentrated her attention on this historical meaning of the peaceful sky and the cloud as a symbol of a peaceful sky, and the meaning of the piece, which has connection with this historical event of memory of the victory in the Second World War. And so the authors of the piece actually have this combination of meanings in their mind when they were constructing it. So that's very interesting. So someone has question, Bethany has a question. How do you think the industrialism of this structure and Russian cities in general contrast with the nature art that Nastasia showed us? So Bethany considers there are some elements of industrial structures in Rotunda. So Anna, do you agree with it? And so how would you answer this question?
Thank you for the question. So Nastya and I did not agree on this, and this art object is like a cloud when Nastasia in your presentation, in sheer presentation.
Yes, I guess there is a contrast of interpretations, but I really believe so the authors, Kovalevskiy and Maryasov, these are surnames of the builders, of the authors of the piece. So they actually have written a long philosophical text about what they mean by this structure. So they speak nothing about any kind of industrialism. They speak about the idea of victory in the war and how, like Anna showed you, the elements of this historical references, like these captured bombs here in these boxes. And they also speak about this dialogue with nature. So for them, this historical and existential cosmic layers of the piece somehow related to one another. But the industrial element was not present in the structure. But actually, Bethany, what you're asking about very well, it gives us sort of a preview to the next presentation that we'll hear later from Tatiana, another student of our university. But before we go there, we have another question from Laura Nell. She asks, is there a significance to its placement by the river? I noticed that many pieces Nastasia mentioned were also placed near the river. So Anna, what do you think? Why was Rotunda placed by the river?
Thank you for your question. So the Yenisey River is of great importance for our city, and this is a river of Siberia, is very large and the symbol of our region.
Okay, so you see, Anna always is focused on her kind of historical and patriotic interpretation of pieces, but I would also like to remind you, both girls told you the name of the museum. So this is what you see, the staircase, this platform. These are elements of an architectural piece. It is a museum which is called, and actually Sergey Kovalevskiy, who built this rotunda, is a vice director of the museum. So the museum is called Peace Square. And peace is like this, the triumph of peace over war is exactly the meaning of Rotunda Anna was talking about. So about the river, the museum stands by the river. And so for creators of this rotunda, it was important to put rotunda in the museum somehow on the Peace Square. So that meant more. Connection with the museum was more important, but the museum stands by the river because, like Nastasia says, it has a connection with the nature, with the mountains on the other bank of the river. So the rotunda is at the museum, first of all, and it just so happens that the museum stands by the river. Okay, so now let's, Anna, thank you very much. We'll move on. You stay here, and if you have questions for other speakers, you are welcome to ask them. And now we'll take a look at this industrial part of our city, indeed, about a totally different kind of look some parts of our city have. So Nastasia and Anna preferred to choose unique structures, different from all around the city. But Tatiana, who is going to take your time now, she's going to speak about standard urban planning, which is also a case in our city. So Tatiana, now I see you. You have switched on your camera. That's great. Everybody can see you. And Tatiana will now speak what affects her most in our city, what makes the most significant impact on her everyday feeling of the architecture around her in our city. So Tatiana, you are welcome to begin.
Hello, I'm Tatiana, and today I would like to tell you about the type of residential building that we call Khrushchevka. It originated in the middle of 20th century in 1950 to 1916, when Nikita Khrushchev was the leader of the Soviet Union. This type of building consists of similar square structure, and in most cases, the decorate elements are avoided. In the exterior, it looks like an inconspicuous box. This house consists of identical square box, and if you have imagination, you can build anything while using them, whether it's garage or kind skyscraper. The architect Le Corbusier invited this type of structure that influenced the design of residential and public building around the world. Le Corbusier defined the principle of his new architecture, which include 5 points: pylon, roof terrace, free plan, open window, and free facade. And like any other object of architecture, Soviet Khrushchevka has an idea. It serves as a model of society where function is more important than aesthetic, and cheapness becomes the main goal. And as you know, architecture has significant impact on the developing the creative abilities of children. At the same time, simple forms contribute to simplicity of thinking. Of course, according to the idea of happy communism future, where ideas of solidarity were embodied in the form of living in communities. As we know now, the communism had not come, and that idea turned out to be an utopia. But as they said, there is nothing more essential than things done to say just for a while. So Khrushchevka is still present in Russian cities of the 21st century. Despite the fact the idea of this structure has poor men 70 years ago, it's still growing now more widely than ever. In our city, we see that building of Fessel's house continues. The residential areas with building based on the same principle of repetition of elementary rectangular form, and now it's growing like mushrooms and generate despondency. Housing accessibility is achieved by simplifying of forms and reducing the cost of building. As a result, it creates atmosphere of absolute madness and guide to a world where nobody is different and nobody alike. It turns uniqueness into complete mediocrity. A mediocrity surround promotes mediocrity thinking, and it becomes entirely difficult to get out the simplicity of form and the simplicity of use. People often say that this place causes them a sense of longing and hopelessness. When you walk around the area of such house, you realize that the project of creating the path to a green future for all has actually turned into a tribute of collapse of the society. And people who live in these areas still a glimmer, a hope on their hearts. These people create a unique atmosphere in their apartments. Inhabitants become the main decorator of this building. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. So please, if you have questions, you can ask them. You can also switch on your camera and microphone and ask your question, or you can just write down your question in a chat. While you are thinking of questions to Tatiana, I can say my own attitude to this presentation. So it actually shows us that you see what you look at. It's just amazing how really you can look at the image of one and the same city and see something absolutely different. And we see so much difference between the presentation made by Nastasia and Tatiana. And so it's just so great that we have this diversity of viewpoints in these three presentations. So does anyone have questions? Please, Tatiana is ready to answer you. So yes, we have one question. What do you think these buildings reflect in regard to individualism? So do they express individualism? Do they oppress individualism? Tatiana, what do you think?
Thank you for your question. As I told before, more important the inhabitants and all of these individuals. I may say inside this building, of course, it looks really same, and sometimes you can't recognize the differences between all of them, but there are tiny things that you may notice in each other.
But as Tatiana said, this kind of structure creates a world where nobody is different. Nobody was meant to be different. But the drama of this architecture is actually present no matter where you go in the world. I don't know what your city is like, but in big cities like Paris or Berlin or Rome even, like in Krasnoyarsk or Moscow, this kind of sleeping areas, they are called, the areas of the city where people just come from work and sleep, and then next day they go work again. So they look alike, they look like this, and these blocks of flats, they are like marching all over the planet. So this really an attack on individuality is a big thing in Europe and in Asia and in Russia. So we have another question from Walton Ferguson. So what would you say that the idea that people are the main decorations of these buildings in Krasnoyarsk overshadow the repetitiveness of these buildings? So
yeah, of course, the people is most important part of our living, and this building, it's yeah, it's most important.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Alex Yates asks, can you elaborate on the relationship between complex thinking and complex buildings versus simple buildings promoting simple thinkings? Yes, this is a controversial idea that Tatiana has actually, and Alex invites you to comment on that and reflect on that. And actually, I invite everybody here in the class now to contribute to the discussion on this question. I think it is a very interesting question, because simplifying doesn't always mean being mediocre or simple. But Tatiana, yes, she pronounced this idea that simple buildings promote simple thinking. So Tatiana, can you defend your point of view now, and like Alex says, can you elaborate on this supposition?
Yeah, as I see it, of course, complex building may contribute to your creativity, and like children who grow up into beautiful atmosphere, like some general square in St. Petersburg has more, I don't, I'm a little bit scared. Sorry. Not exactly the same building produced same thinking. Of course, it depends on the person, but sometimes it happens so. And we may say that in this area, children can't see some differences. The imagination can develop in a complex situation, and so they just doesn't have get any different opportunities to develop yourself.
Yeah, you see here, people try to calm you down and encourage you and say that you are doing great, so don't worry. And Bethany recommends everyone, and you, Tatiana, in particular, the book Where Good Ideas Come From, where actually the author, as far as I understand Bethany's comment, author Stephen Johnson also says that creative and diverse surroundings contribute to innovations and new thought. And so Bethany recommends everybody to read this book. Thank you very much. Does anyone want to make any other comment on Tatiana's popular talk? Yes, Colleen Wallace says that without some complexity of architecture and art within the building, we're not encouraged to consider deeper meaning, therefore indirectly encouraging very simplistic thinking. And Colleen says that you have presented a very interesting idea. So I congratulate you. So everyone was so interested in discussion. And again, I recall the images from your presentation. That's a great one, where we see how the ideas were originated by Le Corbusier in the 20th centuries and how they live and go on, for instance, in new districts and models of new districts of Krasnoyarsk. So thank you very much, Tatiana. It was really interesting and brought such a great discussion. And now I also believe that there is a great point in what Tatiana was talking about. And here we see, and I will show you some more examples on how creative structures in the city can be and how inspiring in this creative thinking they can be. For instance, Frank Gehry is a wonderful architect. He is a contemporary of ours, and see what he built in Bilbao. I showed you last time this Guggenheim Museum, and this is a building he created in Los Angeles. It is a Walt Disney concert hall, and so they put concerts, operas, musicals, ballets in the building, and you see how the building dances and like sings itself. It's just so great. Like I told you, in the university, the building should teach. In the area of music, the building should like sing. So that's the meaning of creative architecture in encouraging people around the buildings to be more concentrated on what the function of the building is. And I would like also to show you, this is also in the United States, and maybe you saw it before. It is Milwaukee Museum, and it was created by a Spanish architect, Santiago Calatrava. So you see here on this slide, I show you two moments, different moments between them, about 5 minutes. So this is a unique building. It moves. It looks like a bird. It stands on the Michigan Lake. And so several times during the day, it moves its wings like a bird. And like, for instance, I took these pictures and it was noon at 12 o'clock. It started moving, and in about 5 minutes, so the wings went down and then they went up. And so this is a moving structure. And this is also very creative and inspires imagination, and it goes very well together with pieces of art which are represented there in the museum. So now I go back again to the task which all of you were to consider, and Dr. Michael Sloan told me that some of you are also ready to talk about maybe some pieces of art which are in your cities, in your towns. And so if you are ready, you can speak now about the ideas, about visual messages that came to your mind while watching these art objects. So who wants to speak first?
Okay, can you stop screen sharing? Okay, how do I, okay. Yusuf and Duha, do you want to jump in and screen share? Are you on?
I can start my screen share in a second.
Can you screen share?
It says it's disabled.
Maybe I should stop
Yeah,
mine.
you stop sharing now.
Yeah, okay, I stopped.
Okay, can you do it now, Duha?
I think so.
Okay.
Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not doing something from Birmingham or Alabama. I'm actually doing something from my home country, which is in Palestine. I'm doing the Dome of the Rock, or Masjid Qubat al-Sakhra in Jerusalem. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of it. So this is the structure. It is an octagon. It has 4 different entrances. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the historic background behind it. So this structure was built in 688 AD by a caliphate by the name of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. It has a lot of very intricate designs, as you can see. But this, the structure, or Masjid Qubat al-Sakhra, or Masjid al-Aqsa, was actually here many years before, and it was just getting renewed over the years. So it has a lot of very intricate designs. It has a lot of religious symbolism. So my religion, which is Islam, we believe that many of the prophets have some sort of their history in it, like Jesus or Isa in Arabic, Abraham, Jacob or Yaqub, and a lot of other prophets. And we believe that at the time of the last prophet, which was Muhammad, they all came back, and like their souls came back, and they had one final prayer together there. It is also believed to be one of the first places of worship to ever have been built on earth, but it has been renovated a lot of times throughout the years. So it was actually thought to have been built at the time of Adam, which is the first prophet. But over years, it was gone, and then it came back throughout years. Another thing that I would like to highlight is the calligraphy. So you can see that at the top. It's actually said that the whole Quran, which is the book that we follow, is said to be written on there somehow, which the book is actually 600 pages, but this is a very big structure, so it could be that it is written all over it. And to highlight some other things, so the dome that you see at the top is actually seen in a lot of mosques, and I think Yusuf is also going to talk about that. But this is thought to have been the first structure with the dome structure. And it's said, like, there are some theories behind it, was to unify people, because it serves as if we're under one dominion. These are some pictures I took when I went there last year. It's a very like culturally and religiously symbolic. This is the inside. It's said that the inside is also built with like it's gold around the sides, and all the writing is in gold also. This is why it's called the Dome of the Rock. So in the middle of the mosque, it actually has a big rock that has religious symbolism. And this is the inside. So many of the times when you're inside, there are people praying and doing different things inside there. This is a picture from the outside. It's a pretty big structure. Okay, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, thank you so much. I liked how you spoke about the meaning of the dome, like it is a symbol of unity and this divine cover, like for everybody. I have a question to you. So this is a religious structure, like you said. So how does it influence the viewer who passes by? And can you distinguish between the viewer who is a believer? And so Jerusalem, as you know, is a city of many religions, right? So, and how does this kind of building influence the one who is maybe Christian, or maybe belongs to some other religion? So how does it influence the viewer?
So Al-Quds, or Jerusalem, is actually a sacred town to many different religions. Among them is Islam, Christianity, and also Judaism. It has a lot of important structures to all 3 religions. And I think the area in general is just a lot of religious symbolism for different religions. This specific mosque is more towards Islam, but I do know that I feel like intricate design. So when I went last year, I was talking to like people of different faiths, and just people who appreciate architecture, and they think it looks beautiful. And I think it kind of speaks to the heart in that sense. I know as a Palestinian myself, it means a lot to me, just because it's part of my culture, and it's something that I would like to go to and visit. Especially, I'm not trying to be political, but with the occupation and me being a Palestinian citizen, I have my Palestinian passport. So it takes a lot of steps for me to be able to even visit that. This kind of takes away from the religious perspective, but I have to go through different checkpoints for it to be able to visit it. So it kind of makes it a little bit more special in that sense.
So actually, it means that you are not likely to be just a passerby if you are there. Yeah, you
have to go
meant to be there.
Yeah.
You are already chosen. Yeah,
You have to go out of your way to want to
yeah.
be there.
Okay. So if anybody wants to comment on how your feelings were when you saw the structure which we have just heard about, you are free to comment in our chat. And so who's the next?
Well, Doha, can you reopen the image?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much. And now we shall see another presentation.
So going back to it, kind of adding more to what Doha said. So she's right that the dome represents uniformity, but I also think that, it's a reason, from the center point of a circle to everywhere else to all the edges, it's equidistant, right? So everyone under the, I guess everyone under the cover of God is equal just in faith. It doesn't matter who you are or your ethnicity or whatever, everyone is viewed equally in the eyes of God. But also a lot of mosque structures have minarets, which they have a practical purpose in that they're there for, to call prayer, but also for the fact that, it's supposed to represent an ascension to heaven. So this one ends at a point sort of at that same sort of concept. Instead of just being an overarching figure that just goes up infinitely, it ends at a point, which means that, sort of representative of how life ends at a singular point, in that, since this is a religious structure, then you go to the next point in life and whatnot. But also the calligraphy, the beauty of it is that it takes these, natural geometric structures that can be seen everywhere, and it shows the human manipulation of it in order to make it more understanding for us and more applicable to us to sort of introduce the abstract into the concrete existence.
Okay. So thank you.
Avery, are you up? Avery Thomas?
Yes.
Go ahead and share. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so let me start my video. So I am from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is not far from Birmingham, and the major structure in our town that you can see pretty much anywhere around town is Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I thought about the symbolism that there is in our stadium. It is a football stadium, if you didn't know. I'm sure you did. But so I thought about the rounded shape and how the shape of the stadium like surrounds the field, and not just like other stadiums where it's just on like two sides, and how like everything, it all revolves around the game. And so that shows like how important football is for our town. And then also leading up to it, there is the Walk of Champions right here. And so my mom likes to call it the Garden of the Gods. And so it's surrounded by like these statues of different football coaches. And so they're a lot larger than life. If you stand next to them, like you feel tiny. So that talks about how, like, I thought that represented how football is just such a big part of our town and how it's larger than life. And then also I thought about like the structure itself and the materials it was built out of, and how it's made to look like professional, like it's not just a football stadium, it's like something bigger, which also talks about how it's such a big part of our town. Like football is bigger for Tuscaloosa than just a game. And then there's branding, as you can see, all over the stadium. So you can see that like Alabama is a brand, and like Alabama football is like the brand of our town. And so basically just that's all I have to say, that Tuscaloosa really likes football.
Okay.
Point out that it's American football we're talking about for our Russian colleagues, not soccer. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I liked the idea of how you drew our attention to the sculptures, which are bigger than human figures, right? And this walk of champions, where every part of it can be represented as a step of also huge hero, right? And so here we have a very interesting thing. Before we had a presentation about the religious structure, but how you talked about, it is also like a temple of heroes, which are sportsmen, and they are actually, they were glorified like some divine creatures, for instance, in ancient world. It happened like you took a sportsman and you saw an image of God in him, and this is an ancient Greek idea. And so of course we are living in the like an atmosphere of repetitive ideas, and human nature goes back to the ideas that impressed humans most. So I see here another version of a temple, actually, another version of a kind of religious structure, because when you love sport, you believe, like you believe in your team. And I am also a fan of sport, which is we call football and you call soccer. So I completely understand what you mean when you are like hinting we can compare like believing in sportsmen and this kind of a new religion. Sometimes it is for us supporters. Yes.
Ava?
Thank you so much.
Ava Hansen?
Gotcha. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, well, let me see if it.
Down at the bottom, green, share screen.
Yeah, my computer was being a little weird. Okay. So
Okay,
I'm
yes,
from Houston, Texas, which is a state that's a couple states away from Alabama. So it's a little bit further away. And I wanted to talk about this bridge that is over one of the major roads in Houston. We call it like the Be Someone Bridge. It really doesn't have a name. It's actually a railroad bridge, but in 2012, a graffiti artist came and spray painted like Be Someone onto the bridge. And so every time you drive into Houston, coming from the north side, you will see this bridge. And it's always like a fun thing to just see. It has become like an icon sort of for Houstonians and people who visit Houston as well. So like I said, it was made in 2012. They first did it in 2012. And for the longest time, it stayed just Be Someone. And right now there's like a petition to make it like a historical landmark, which is interesting because it's a railroad bridge and has a purpose and is owned by like the railroad companies and things like that. But this past year, as like we as a society have faced different challenges through the pandemic, through like Black Lives Matter, through all sorts of things, the bridge has actually changed. The messages have changed to reflect what the people of Houston like believe and the issues that they take to heart. And so when the pandemic first came around, somebody sprayed over it and said, wash your hands, which is a great message as well. So it's kind of like a call to action for anybody driving under it of like, first, to be somebody, have a purpose for your life, and follow your dreams and the things that you want to do. And then when things turned a little bit more serious, they had a more like literal purpose. When the Black Lives Matter started, like the movement started arising back in June and is still going on today, the message was sprayed over again, and they wrote George Floyd's name on it because George Floyd was actually from the Houston area. He grew up there, and so they wanted to reflect like how Houston as a whole was like mourning his death, and just wanted his name to be lived on in memory. Additionally, after that, it was sprayed over again. And another message called #SaveTheChildren was also added. And this message was a nod to human trafficking, because this particular road in Houston, as well as Texas as a whole, sees a lot of human trafficking. Like at least 20% of human trafficking that occurs in the United States goes through Texas, specifically through I-45 and I-10, these interstate roads. And so they wanted to raise awareness for that particular issue as well. After that, it went back to Be Someone. And now currently, because of our upcoming election, it says Vote or Die, which is a little bit aggressive, I'm not gonna lie. But once again, it's just reflecting the issues that Houstonians feel are important to them, as well as the contemporary, like, current events that we're going through as a society. So it's less visual in the sense of like shapes and things like that. But if you look at its context and where it's located, it's very interesting, because it's kind of like this welcoming message that reflects the population of Houston and like what they take to heart, the issues they take to heart. And especially before, when it said Be Someone, it's kind of like a welcome message coming into Houston. And its location on one of the like major roads in Texas as a whole also kind of reflects that as well. So yeah, that's really all I had to say.
Okay, Eva, thank you so much. I also think that the construction itself, the bridge, also contributes to strengthening the message, because it's like the way from you go from from seeing the image to maybe acting like this, like voting, for instance, or like believing that you can be someone, or just being somebody who is important. And so this is a bridge. The words are the bridge. And I think if it were on like the wall, it would be a bit different. But here it goes with this movement, and not only the road makes the movement, but the bridge itself is like going from A to B, and you can change, you can be something else. Yeah, it was, I think this construction also supports the power of those ideas which you showed us. Thank you so much. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Lisha, you on?
I'm here. I can share my screen. Okay. Okay. So I wanted to briefly talk about the Statue of Liberty, because like it's such an influential like part of like our American, you know, sculpture series, and it's right outside Ellis Island in New York City, and a lot of people see it as like, you know, like a token of like the American dream, and a lot of immigrants came there, especially like they saw the statue as they came to Ellis Island. But with it being such like a pivotal part of our history, there are a lot of like myths and things that surround it. And one of the things that I heard about the Statue of Liberty was that it was modeled after a Black woman. So I did some research, and it turns out that that wasn't true. But when I did more research, it made sense for them to say that, because one of the original like sculpture artists was a part of like a French abolitionist group, and they met in like 1865, and that was right after like the Emancipation Proclamation like kind of took over, and it gained you know, notability. And then it was talking about, instead of it being named or being modeled after a Black woman, it was named or it was modeled after an Egyptian woman, and they wanted it to look like Egypt was carrying the light to Asia. And also there's another thing about the statue is that they have shackles, like there's a shackle on the foot, and that's supposed to represent like, not so much like breaking the bondage of like slaves, but more so like breaking the bondage of like oppression in America, which wasn't really a reality at the time when the statue was given from France to America, but they were trying to make it more of like a political, like raising spirits type offering. So yeah.
Okay. Alicia, are you from New York?
No, I'm actually from Mississippi, but I've seen the statue before.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Do we have some other presenters?
I think that's it. I was gonna finish up with one where is it? Just a campus piece that is right beside us here. I just wanted to say something about it. This is a piece by Von Randall, and we have a on-campus sculpture competition funded by former dean of graduate school. And so this was the winning entry here. This is a scaled down size, and
Mike, we can't.
Michael, we don't see the picture.
oh, where is that? Okay, but
Yeah, you have to share the screen.
okay. There's screen.
Yes, yes. Now we see.
Okay. So this is it, winner of a sculpture competition. It's cast iron. And was the real size is, so this is right beside our Spencer Honors House here on the campus. So it's a piece, you can see the scale by virtue of the student in here in the middle of it. But part of the reason it won the competition is that it kind of fit the context, and the context is a business and engineering building complex here, as you can see in the background. And so you get the idea of wheel and industrial revolution kind of thing. And then on the other side is our own building, the Spencer Honors House. So it's picking up the famous stained glass windows that are part of the Honors House. So it kind of combines the industrial engineering kind of idea of progress and iron, which is a critical part of the Birmingham's history, as well as the stained glass window of the Honors House, which was a church for a long period of time. So that's kind of context. It's located between our interdisciplinary arts and sciences program and the business engineering complex. And so our window is our kind of logo in our honors program. As you can see, we have our t-shirt logo over there with the wheel. So anyway, that's our building. That's where we're coming from. We've enjoyed our collaboration. So I'll stop sharing there. So our students are just kind of beginning the assignment. And so what you heard today were just preliminary kind of ideas, but we will try and get PDFs of the final submissions to you in some form, so you can share them and whatever. We'll go from there. So I think we'll leave it there. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it. Hope your student, congratulations to your students. Did a great job. And we appreciate you presenting both talks. So,
yes, it was so very, very interesting to know all these pieces and the ideas that student talked about. I thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure for me to talk to you. And I would just like to finish by inviting all of you to the conference that we're going to have in November. And if you want to speak about the results of your research in visual thinking, you can do it at the conference as well. So if you want to, you can go to our website or write to us and register at the conference if you have time and desire to speak more about your visual thinking experience. Thank you so much.
thank you.